It's Grant who's got the goal from the free kick, and we're heading for extra time now, surely.
Flamingo! It is 2-0, and that now surely seals the K-League title for John Book Vending Motors.
You're listening to the K-League United podcast, proud partner of Football Nation Radio.
Hello and welcome to the K-League United podcast. I'm Paul Neat and I am joined by Mr. Matthew Binns. How's it going?
Hello, Paul. I'm good, thank you. I'm elated. John Book. Well, we're going to talk about John Book very soon, but I'm very happy right now.
As am I, Matthew, and I think you will be well aware of the reason why I'm very, very happy. In fact, both of our teams tonight recorded 2-1 wins.
Indeed, they did. Yeah, but I mean, I didn't realise you were an Asan fan, Paul.
Absolutely not. No, although they did win, and we will get to that a bit later on. But yes, that's right. Your game is probably a slightly more high-profile one. So let's start with that. It is Wednesday's FA Cup semi-finals. Breaking news, John Book and Seoul are through to the final. Now, both matches were level at half-time, 0-0 at Daegu and 1-1 at the Munsu. Both ended full-time, the regular 90 at 0-0 at Daegu and 1-1 at the Munsu. Some late drama in both of these games, but John Book are through after a 2-1 win over Ulsan. Binns, how did it go down?
Well, it was a really entertaining affair, actually. If we get anything close to this on Saturday, this will be a fantastic advert for the K-League, because these two teams really, really were going at it for this semi-final. Two reasonably full-strength squads as well. John Book 4-4-2 with the likes of Barrow and Hankyo Won starting, Son Min-kyu and Cho Kyu-sung up front. Ulsan, they were reasonably strong as well, although Won-sang started on the bench yet again, still recovering from that hand injury. And, well, it was Ulsan who took the lead. It was Wondu Jae on 30 minutes. It was a mainly nice work from Vako, though. He broke into the John Book box, perhaps some questionable defending from the champions, but let's give Vako his due there. And yeah, Wondu Jae collected the rebound, he found a bit of space and converted the shot. So 1-0 to Ulsan, but it really, really was end-to-end. And you thought it'd only be a matter of time before John Book got themselves on the score sheet, and they did so in style, Paul. Modo Barrow taking the ball from, I don't know, just the middle of the pitch, moving about 25 yards from goal and just let rip to draw things level. That's his 7th goal in the last 5 across all competitions, and he scored in each of those 5 as well, it should be said. He is on fire for John Book at the moment. Easily one of the best players in the league on form, and he's been looking sharp and could possibly be one of the reasons why John Book may still have a trophy come the end of the season. Got to half-time, 1-1. Hong Yun-bo played his card, brought on Won-sang at half-time. Kim Jin-soo gave him quite the welcoming shoulder barge around the 55 minutes mark. Literally just bumped into him, and Won-sang sprawled out on the side of the pitch. That's what you like to see from Kim Jin-soo. He is renowned for doing the dark arts. But yes, anyway, the game continued. Hankyo Won was taken off. A good move. Not sure, but saving him perhaps for Saturday is a wise choice. Kim Bo-kyung came on. Son Min-kyu then moved out wide. There was a couple of chances as well on Won-sang. He hit the post, he nipped in and took the ball off the John Book back line, darted through, got his shot across the face of goal, but clipped the far post. Danger wasn't dead, though, and Vako eventually got the ball, took a shot, and forced a fine save from Son Bom-kun. Perhaps another sign for things to come on Saturday. Adam was taken off Leonardo, perhaps saving Adam for Saturday, but Leonardo would have a bit of drama himself because Leonardo would see red, Paul, in controversial circumstances. Dying minutes of the second half, about 92nd, 93rd minute. Ball comes in, a bit of a tussle between Park Jin-top and Leonardo for the ball, and it breaks out into scuffles. Could argue Leonardo probably instigated it, but perhaps both players are really guilty because Park Jin-sop certainly showed some retaliation. Ref originally booked Park Jin-sop, sent him off even, and then sent off to John Book physio, and then got called to look at VAR, rescinded the red card, then issued it to Leonardo and also to Chae Chul-sun, who just got in amongst it all at some point to defend Park Jin-sop. I mean, Park Jin-sop was bleeding from his nose, it must be said. But yeah, so Park Jin-sop stayed on, Leonardo off, also down to 10, and then, well, John Book just turned up the pressure in extra time, and in the end, it was Cho Kyu-sung with the goal. Beautiful bit of passing movement. Kim Min-hwan with the assist, pulling it back, and Cho Kyu-sung just stabbing it in, hitting it off the crossbar. And yeah, John Book are in the final. They've beaten Ulsan. And yeah, I don't know how to feel about it because I feel like both teams have played their hands very well today, and they may not have a lot left to do on Saturday.
Well, yeah, Ulsan out of the cup then, and I mean it's a cliche, but you could say now that they can concentrate on the league because they won't have another extra midweek game to sort of think about between now and the end of the season. But yeah, last chance saloon, as we said in the preview, in the build up to this game for Kim Sang-shik maybe to save his job. But yeah, hopefully we'll see more of that on this weekend in K-League. But before we get to that, FC Seoul are of course through to the final. In terms of the sort of team news and the shape of the team, there were some changes by Aneksu. Key was dropped to the bench, as was Ilyachenko. Up front by himself, leading the line was Cho Young-uk. I like to see him there. I think he can play there as a 9. He should play there more often. Kim Shin-jin came into midfield. In what was a 3-5-2, Aneksu shifted to a back 3. And Seoul seemed to be a little bit less pedestrian in getting the ball forward from front to back. You know, as we've seen many times already this season, Seoul take a long time and they get picked off on the counter-attack, as well. I'll get to in a little bit later about the other game against Daegu that took place in the last sort of few days. But in terms of Daegu's team, Cezinia and Go Jae-hyun were left on the bench, but both came on early in the second half. Both were involved in what Daegu thought was actually a winning goal, or certainly a big goal, a big call from the referee. Cezinia had a free kick. He sent it over towards the back post. Zeka, as we've seen him do quite a lot this season, he was very calm, had a very good touch. He played it across the front of goal first time. Go Jae-hyun slid in. He was basically on the line. He bundled the ball in. We thought it was 1-0, but the referee, the replays apparently were saying that Zeka was offside. Now, if he was offside, it was millimeters. I thought it was very harsh, certainly from the replay or angle that I saw. So 0-0 it was, 0-0 at full time. Then it went into extra time. And just when we thought it was heading into a penalty shootout, Na Sang-ho, incredible. He, on the edge of the box, did some lollipops, as Ron Atkinson used to say when he did commentary back in the 90s. Went right, went left, cut inside, shot, found the bottom corner. Great composure at that stage of the game. Huge goal. For Seoul, it really helps to sort of change the complexion of the whole season, of the mood around the club, which I'll get to in a bit more detail later. But they're now heading into their first FA Cup final since 2016. Hopefully for them, trying to win one for the first time since 2015. But the last time they won an FA Cup, it was a one-leg affair. And they were at home, really, because it was at Seoul World Cup Stadium when they beat Incheon United that afternoon. This time they'll have to play over 2 legs, as the Cup has been for the last sort of few years. The first leg will be in Seoul on Thursday, the 27th of October, with a 7 p.m. kickoff. And the second leg, of course, is then at Jeonju World Cup Stadium on Sunday the 30th. I'm not sure what time that will kick off yet, but I'm sure we'll find out very soon. It might all depend on other things that happen, the playoffs, of course, everything's going to get wrapped up in October, as we know. So, we will see about that.
All right. Well, moving on, I suppose we should probably look back at round 34 in K-League 1 before we then look ahead to round 35.
Yes, let's start with the last game of the round. That was Songnam's 2-0 home loss to Suwon Blue Wings on Monday afternoon, because obviously it was a national holiday in Korea on Monday. Songnam fans, I'm sorry to say this, but really, Songnam are circling the drain at the moment. The defeat now leaves them 10 points behind Gimcheon and 13 points behind absolute safety. So with 4 games left, it is going to be the relegation playoffs at best. And they play Gimcheon next, who are 11th, and a draw would basically relegate them. So it's do or die for them. We'll get to that in a bit later on. But for Suwon Blue Wings, huge win. They move up to 10th on 37 points, 1 behind Daegu. And their first goal was what is now really looking like a very typical goal from Oh Hyun-kyu. It was he muscled his way through on goal, bit of pace, bit of power, took the ball into the bottom corner. This was, of course, before Suwon thought they had a penalty. It went to VAR. The ref looked at it a few times, decided what he saw was worthy of a spot kick. Then, whilst Oh Hyun-kyu had put the ball on the spot or had the ball in his arms and was stood in front of the penalty spot, there was some more sort of VARing. The referee's got his finger to his earpiece, trying to hear what's going on. They check and they realise that someone was offside in the build-up. So all a bit comical, waste of time, really. Suwon obviously did score. They scored a second. It goes down as an own goal by Kwak Kwang-son, but Oh Hyun-kyu, he was the instigator. It came off him and then off Kwak Kwang-son and into the back of the net. Great travelling support from Suwon Blue Wings, as you would obviously always expect. Is a short trip over to Songnam from Suwon, but it was raining and it was on a national holiday. In terms of Songnam, though, they just time and time again, they do this all the time under the old manager, under the current manager. They just aren't playing the best players. It's ridiculous. Munich didn't start. Neither did Palacios. Both were left on the bench. They both came on at half time. And Munich in particular was the man possessed. He was really dangerous. He had a few shots. Some came very, very close. And it was all a little bit sort of a little bit too much, too little, too late, really, for Songnam. For Munich, though, you might think he'll probably stay in K-League. You know, he almost moved to Jeju United in the summer, and that didn't materialize. But yeah, for Songnam, not good. Suwon Blue Wings, massive win.
Yeah, indeed. And just mentioning that as well, there are rumours that Joo Min-kyu might be looking out at the end of the season for Jeju. So that would be a nice little way to fill in for him if Jeju were to go back in for Munich. But yeah, it is weird how Songnam don't play their best players, as you said, how they constantly mix things up. And I don't think even their fans know really what team's going to come out each Saturday. I mean, I was even wondering at one point, is it done on bonuses or something? Because it's so odd, some of these choices that are made. But I digress. Yeah, Songnam in big trouble there. As for another team that is in big trouble, that's Gimcheon Sangmu. But they did rescue a point, getting a 2-2 draw against Suwon FC. That's away in Suwon as well. And it was, again, another match played in torrential rain. But Suwon, they looked good for the majority of the match. Murillo, he struck the post in the 16th minute, but Lars Veldveit was there to tap in the rebound. And then at the half-hour mark, there's some really good passing play for the Gimcheon build-up, and it led to the equaliser. Kim Han-gil, just from the edge of the penalty area, slotting home to make it 1-1. But Suwon did find... did take the lead just before half-time, rather. Lee-young whipping in a corner for Lachlan Jackson to convert. And yet, Suwon, perhaps this has been one of their biggest issues this season. They've been very good in attack, and they've struggled a lot in defence this season. They could have wrapped this match up several times, and they didn't. And as we got past the hour mark, we saw Gimcheon slowly growing confidence, and well, it eventually resulted in Kim Gyong-min finding the equaliser for Gimcheon in the 87th minute. He had a bit of a narrow angle, but it was a really good finish, slotting in at the far post. And yeah, this is the second time in 2 matches Gimcheon have rescued points in the dying embers of a game. And it's this kind of never say die attitude that might just see them not say die in this league.
Indeed. While elsewhere, Seoul lost to Daegu 3-2, and I perhaps don't need to tell you how Seoul conceded, but I will anyway. They gave the ball away and were hit on the counter for both the first and third goals. No, that isn't a summary of round 33. Well, it is, but it's also a summary of Saturday's game. The second one was just poor defending, but they did it again. They were high at the pitch. They had the ball. They gave it away. And then you just can't do that when you've got people like Cezinha and Zeka who have more pace than what I think people give them credit for, especially Zeka being a big man. They were pulsating at times, Daegu, in this game. For Seoul, same mistakes, same outcome. Anixu, well, before the FA Cup semi-final win, he was under a bit of pressure. I'm not sure I think you might have seen this. Most people have seen this by now, but there's a video on YouTube that I shared on Twitter on Saturday. Not my video, obviously, but it's of Ki Sung-young arguing with a fan behind the goal there at Seoul World Cup Stadium. Now, it's alleged that someone told him that he should retire, but that part isn't included in the video. People are screaming and swearing at the players. Ki looks visibly upset here in the earlier part of the video. And I think what he's saying is that I've said we're sorry. I've said we, the players, are taking responsibility for the team's poor run of form, because the fans were chanting for the manager to be sacked, and they were chanting for him to come out and explain and talk to the fans. All very ugly. And well, he did. The manager came out. He grabbed a microphone and he addressed the fans, and he basically said that nothing has changed in terms of what the aim is for the team in the long term. He said that he haven't been able to reward the fans' passion with results, and for that he's sorry. He also said that he would like the fans to respect the fact that the players are working hard and they are trying, adding that if the fans believe in the players and wait just a bit longer, then the situation will change and things will get better, as that's what they're all working towards. Most fans seem to accept this as some kind of explanation or something. There was some applause and cheers from the crowd. Then in the post-match press conference, he basically said the same thing, and that fans had a right to be angry, and again said that he's sorry. But the defeat now, that leaves Seoul just 4 points above the bottom three. So although they are in an FA Cup final, they're definitely not safe yet.
Indeed. And one team that's safe, and let me check my notes again here, Incheon United.
Yeah.
They started life in Final A with a loss, unfortunately, losing to Ulsan Hyundai 3-0. This was actually the one we were on commentary for this weekend, Paul, so we both got a good look at this. It started off. Also, we're mainly on top for most of this game, but it started off with a disallowed goal. Lee Chung-young with a short corner, and the ball headed in. But it was disallowed for a push by Junimano, and Ulsan had to wait a little bit longer. They wait until the 26th minute, where Chae Ki-yeon got his first goal as a professional to take the lead for Ulsan. At 1-0, though, at halftime, you thought Incheon could perhaps weather the storm and catch Ulsan on the counter-attack. It is what Incheon had set themselves up to do, but that kind of all went out the window. Kim Young-gu got a red card in the 47th minute, straight after halftime. Basically, it changed the game on its head somewhat. At halftime, Cho Sung-wan had brought on 2 attacking substitutions, then only to be reduced to 10 men minutes into the second half. Yeah, it was a very clumsy challenge just outside the area and a deserved second booking. Ulsan held off for another 10 minutes before deciding to score again. Junimano with a tight angle shot, before Ulsan compounded Incheon's misery with Martin Adams scoring from a penalty kick. It was a bit of an odd one in terms of how it was awarded. Delbridge was adjudged to have handled it on the line when Martin Adams had taken a shot, but a passage of play had taken place, and Incheon were actually lining up for a free kick before the ref was called over for the VAR decision.
All right. Well, moving elsewhere in Final A, Jeju United 1, Gangwon FC 2. These two teams began the split in the same way they ended the regular season, having met just before the international break. But this time, Gangwon again beat Jeju 2-1. This time it was on the island. Kim Dae-won scored after 10 minutes. That was his 11th goal of the season and 23rd goal contribution. Given how many goals and assists that he's got this season, surely he's got to be a contender for MVP. Lee Jung-hyuk scored Gangwon's second after 61 minutes, his 5th of the season and first since the middle of August. Jeju pulled one back through Ji Min-kyu on 67 minutes. Yoon Bik-garam with the assist. Jeju now has 16 for the season and is 2 clear of Magosha, who is still in the top 3 in terms of top scorers, even though he hasn't been in K-League since the summer. And Cho Gyu-song, who he scored goals to 2 different teams now. So you would like surely somebody who scored goals for just one team who's still in the league to win the top goal scorer award this season. It looks like it'll be Ji Min-kyu. With Incheon also losing, it means that Jeju are still only 3 points behind 4th. 3rd place is a bit of a stretch, so that's now 9 points. Too far, really. But 4th, which could become an ACL spot depending on who wins the FA Cup. If Jeonbuk win it, 4th becomes open for ACL, a passage through to a playoff for that. So you have to say that Gangwon 2 then are in the running, still there. They look like they might have just sort of got in there, and there's always that danger of the team that just gets into the top 6. They tend to finish with fewer points than the team that finishes in 7th. That might not happen this year. Gangwon look like they might upset a few teams. And, they're just 2 points above Jeju, but only one behind Incheon. So all to play for these two, really, if Jeonbuk win the FA Cup. But even still, though, 4th will be a decent finish and better than what they did last year.
Indeed. Well, the other game from round 34 was Jeonbuk. They were in action against Pohang Steelers. A bit of a tough test for Jeonbuk because they were going into this game 8 points behind, given Ulsan had won earlier in the afternoon, but they came out 3-1 winners. Modo Barrow got the scoring off with Kim Min-hwan doing what he does well to fire in a low cross from the byline, and Barrow was there on the far post to convert. But Go Young-jun for Pohang had other ideas, and he converted Kim Yong-hwan's cross at the far post to make sure it was 1-1 going in at half-time. Shortly into the second half, just before the hour mark, Han Kyo-won got his name on the score sheet. Barrow, heading towards the penalty box, laid it off to his right where Han Kyo-won was in space. Han Kyo-won turned, fired a superb shot from just inside the edge of the area at an angle beyond the goalkeeper Kang Hyun-moo. And then Han Kyo-won was on the score sheet again. 73rd minute, he broke through on goal, lobbed the goalkeeper, and it hit the post, but he just kept running and converted the rebound to send the Jeonbuk fans into delirium. Han actually almost nearly had a hat-trick as well later on with a slightly more acrobatic effort, but unfortunately it was slightly wide of the mark. And yeah, that was Jeonbuk back on form. It was really, really assured performance from them. Pohang didn't look bad themselves, but Jeonbuk do just seem to be doing Jeonbuk things recently. They seem to realize the situation they are in, and they seem to be giving the performances that we know they are capable of. That was their 4th consecutive league win, and obviously they have won the FA Cup semi-final midweek as well against Ulsan. So they are finding the results against the teams they need to find them against at the most crucial point of the season.
Yeah, well, that's that. Jeonbuk back on form, and that's the end of round 34. It's time for us to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll look ahead to K-League 1 round 35, starting with the Futbology Match of the Round.
Futbology is a football app like no other. With the handiest tool for football fans on your phone, You can locate any match nearby no matter where on the planet you are or plan to be. Keep track of all your visited games, collect all kinds of stats, and get badges for achievements like special games and milestone events. The Futbology app covers more than 80,000 grounds and 1,200 leagues worldwide, including K-League 1 and 2, as well as K3 and K4 and the WK League. Download Futbology for free today on iPhone or Android. Connect with your friends, and your football life will never be the same again.
All right, welcome back to the K-League United podcast. I'm Paul Neat, and now Matthew Binns will be debuting the Futbology Match of the Round.
I will be, Paul, and this one it picked itself this week. What a match to pick for the first one of these Futbology matches of the round.
Well, you say
yes.
that, but I think I mean it is an incredible game, or it should be, given what's at stake. But there are some decent fixtures this weekend, so this shows how big this game actually is. You know, there's a super match, and there's some huge games at the bottom of the table as well.
That is very true, actually. Yeah, but Ulsan Hyundai versus Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors, latter the final league game of the season. It's always a big one, and this one is no different. Ulsan Hyundai find themselves in the position of being 5 points clear with 4 games to play, and yet, the doubts look like they might be creeping in. They've lost to Jeonbuk in the FA Cup, and now 3 days after that, they're going to be playing each other on Saturday again at Ulsan Munsu Stadium. And there's going to be one suspension. Jun Amano for Ulsan Hyundai picked up his 5th yellow card against Incheon. There are a couple of players close to suspension as well. Hong Jong-ho and Barrow both on 4 yellows, and both really can't afford to get suspended, especially Barrow, given how crucial he's been to the campaign. It's a bit difficult to call, having just seen this play out in the FA Cup semi-final. Both teams look evenly matched. Jeonbuk are playing with a far more familiar rhythm these days, particularly evidenced against Pohang as well. However, Ulsan look calmer than they have been. They looked short against Incheon, and they still looked a threat on Wednesday against Jeonbuk, but inevitably, once they were down to 10 men, it was only a matter of time. Both sides played strong sides midweek, so it seems very unlikely there's going to be many changes. Jeonbuk will have to squeeze a U22 player in there for the first 20 minutes at least. Probably likely to start in the centre with Meng Sang-eun and Pek Sung-ho, and Han Kyo-won and Barrow being taken off reasonably early means you can expect them to start once more on the wings in hope of terrifying that Ulsan defence. There are some doubts over Kim Jin-soo, though, who came off injured against Ulsan. Bit too soon to know the full extent of that, but he did hobble off at least and wasn't requiring the stretcher. But speaking of Ulsan, Jun Amano needs replacing in central midfield, but for the most part, they are likely to be quite similar. Leonardo did get sent off against Jeonbuk in the Cup, but that doesn't mean he can't play in the league, because the Cup and the league are different. So he can play this weekend and go up against Park Jin-sup once more. And he's arguably the fitter striker after not being on the pitch for very long, Paul. So, should be an interesting one.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be a big game. And it's interesting that they played this game so early in the split. It's sometime, well, I think in 2019, it was the second to last game.
Yes.
Last year, it came slightly earlier, and this year it's come slightly earlier still. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's certainly very interesting in how this has been arranged. But if you are going to the game, don't forget to use Futbology, the app. You can check in. You can sort of log that as a game that you've been. So it's not just about, ground hopping and collecting, sort of making sure that you know how many grounds you've been to. You can keep track of how many games that you've been to as well. What other features does the app have, Matthew?
Well, yeah, you can earn and collect badges on the app by checking into a stadium on the same day as a football legend's birthday. You can also post pictures taken at the stadium. You can see who else has checked in there as well. Yeah, it's the perfect football fans' accompaniment to travelling around Korea, travelling around the world rather, and catching various football matches.
Well, of course, the game is at the Munsu. I haven't been there myself yet. I was hoping to go to it this year. Hasn't materialised. But for those who are going to go, how to get there? What's the best way to get down there?
Yeah, I've only actually been myself once. I've been down to Ulsan a couple of times, but the first time I went was in 2019 when they were using the Civil Stadium. But the Munsu Stadium I did catch in 2020. Modo Barrow actually scoring the winner in that game in the penultimate match of the season. But to get to the Ulsan Munsu Stadium, well, most people, if you're coming from Seoul anyway, tend to take the KTX. But the KTX is somewhat of a trick. Ulsan is more or less the name on the sign of the station. The station is miles away from the city. So don't go to the station thinking you're going to be in the city. You're not. Peter Hampshire and I actually made, when we made this trip, we got to the KTX quite early, and then we had to take a bus. Well, actually two. You had to take a local one and then another one to get you a bit closer to the stadium. But the option of the taxi was there. It takes about 20 minutes, about 15,000 won in a taxi from the station.
Not too bad. Not too bad. Yeah, I have been to the KTX station in my playing days. Went down to the Ulsan Cup in 2013 and 15. But in 15, we took the train. And yeah, I was a bit surprised as they were just the fact that the station was in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, great. All right. Well, if you do go there, don't forget to use the app and check in. But we should probably move on to the rest of what's happening in round 35 fixtures. What's happening what's happening? I'll start again. So what's happening in? All right, so let's move on to what else is happening in round 35. Lots going on, as I said earlier. This Ulsan Jeonbuk game is obviously the standout fixture given what's at stake, but lots of tasty-looking games, especially in Final B. But starting in Final A, what else have we got, Matthew?
Well, we have Pohang Steelers versus Jeju United at 2:00 on the Saturday. And yeah, this continues the race for the Champions League for Jeju. And Pohang still trying to keep second. It's kind of just gone out of reach now with that loss to Jeonbuk, but they still want to finish the season strongly. There are a couple of suspensions, so they have to concern themselves with. The big one for Pohang is Shin Jin-ho. He picked up his 10th yellow card of the season against Jeonbuk last weekend, so he will not be available for the weekend's match. We'll be back for Ulsan, though. And Chae Young-jun for Jeju United. He will also be out after picking up his 5th yellow card. Lee Sung-mo is also out injured with an ankle injury, and Shin Kwang-hun is, Shin Kwang-hun is actually 1 yellow away from a ban, so we'll be keeping those tackles rather light. Jeju, they've only won 1 game in their last 8, and that was against Gimcheon in 11th, so it's not been looking great for Jeju of recent. They've just lost to Gangwon twice as well. They are still somehow only 3 points off 4th, though, but to turn that into an ACL, that would require Jeonbuk to win the FA Cup, as I've already mentioned. Probably a bit more assured now, actually. Now Jeonbuk have FC Seoul, but I don't want to tempt fate too soon. Yeah. But yeah, so an interesting clash indeed.
Absolutely, yeah. It's all about 4th, really. Pohang, it will be a massive upset if they don't seal 3rd place. But into Final B, Gangwon FC against Incheon United at 7 p.m. here in Korea on the Saturday. Suspensions: Kang Yeon-gu, double yellow against Ulsan. That means he misses the game. Some who are very close to a suspension: Delbridge, Kim Jun-yeop, and Kim Dong-min are all 1 booking away from a 1-match ban. So we'll see how that goes. That might play into the manager's sort of thinking in terms of team selection. Do you want to get risk of booking for this game and they miss the next game? That kind of thing. So yeah, Gangwon's recent form has made this very interesting, as they are now very much in the running for 4th place. 3 wins in the last 5 matches, including 2 on the spin, albeit both against Jeju. And I'd be keeping an eye out on Kim Dae-won in this one. He is in electric form at the moment. Had a great season, really, to be honest. But whether it's a goal or assist, he seems to be really involved in most of what Gangwon do. Incheon now, though, back-to-back losses, 1 win in 5, 4 without a win. Are they starting to truly feel the absence of, well, first of all, Magosha and then Hernandez? Hernandez, of course, he looked like he was, a perfect sort of replacement, really. Came in, hit the ground running, scored goals, out for the rest of the season, unfortunately, for Incheon, who have now gone 3 matches without a goal. So, not good for them. Forward liners also was questionable, I thought, in that Ulsan game that we were on commentary for. Kim Do-hyuk, Park Chang-hwan on either side of Hong Shiu. But what are their other options? So we'll have to see whether Incheon can respond and turn their form around. They have openly said that they want to finish in the Champions League. If they don't beat Gangwon, then I don't see how they're going to be able to do that.
Indeed, it's they're so close now. It'd be such a shame for them to end what has been a fairy tale season, empty-handed. Even though, in hindsight, in years looking back, it will still look like a very good season that they finished in the top half. But yeah, it's really going to feel like a bit of a loss, a bit of a missed opportunity if they don't make it now.
Yeah, but I suppose they will take solace. I'm saying this as if they aren't going to finish in the top 4, but they might still do. But they will know that if we'd have had a striker, through no fault of their own, they had to sell one of them. The other one got injured. So unlucky, really. So they can think, well, yeah, we did finish 5th or maybe even 6th, but if we'd have had a striker, who knows? And that might give the board, the people up there, some kind of encouragement to invest in the team. Speaking of investment in the team, there's been a lot for FC Seoul over the last couple of years, but they're still in Final B. That's their 3rd year in a row. And up next for them is the super match against Suwon Blue Wings. Is this game still super? That's the question that seems to come up every time, certainly given the fact that both these teams have more often than not over the last few years been in the bottom half of the table. Well, I mean, having both of these teams now won this week, albeit Seoul in the cup and Suwon in the league on Monday afternoon, maybe it's the right timing, I think, for both of them. They both will have confidence heading into this game. It's a very, very important game. A good chance for both teams to pick up 3 important points. As you've already said, Seoul are only 4 points above the drop zone, and so a defeat here will drag them right in it. The form isn't great, though. Just 1 win in 5 in the league with back-to-back losses, 3 wins in 10. Suwon's win on Monday afternoon, I keep saying Monday night, was their first in 5 and first since the last super match that wasn't played actually that long ago. So we'll see. But key for them, Oh Hyung-gyu, what a season he's having and what a play he looks like he's going to be. Still so very, very young, but now very important for Suwon Blue Wings. Another goal of the weekend, was involved in the second goal as well. He's got pace and power, and he will cause problems for FC Seoul. And it's going to be up to someone like Kim Ju-sung, perhaps, to try and nullify him. They're going to need somebody who's mobile and strong to go up against him. Kim Ju-sung played for Seoul in the cup on Wednesday night, so maybe they will stick with him and Osmar. Now, if they play with the back 3 as well, that might help, I think. Back 3 and wing backs. And also, I would say one interesting battle to keep an eye on in this game is Ilyuchenko versus Dave Bull-Twees, because they actually are very good friends off the pitch, having met when they both played in Germany a few years ago. And I didn't know this until I interviewed Dave Bull-Twees a couple of years ago when he was still at Ulsan and when Ilyuchenko was still at Pohang. And I asked him, does he look forward to these kind of physical battles against strikers like him? And he said, oh, yeah, well, me and Stan, we go way back. I had no idea about that. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see how these two physical players and two good friends can go to battle on the pitch. But in terms of personnel who might be missing, who is missing, for Seoul, midfielder Jung Hyun Chol, he will miss out. He got a 5th yellow card last time out. There are a few other players that could miss their next game if they do get a booking against Suwon. Osmar, Yoon Jung-gyu, and Im Min-hyuk, they would miss Gimcheon at home the week after if they get booked this weekend. For the Blue Wings, Jung Sung-won and Lee Jong-sung are both on 4 yellows, which means they are 1 away from a ban, and they would miss the game against Daegu if they do get booked. So, super match, is it still super? Well, let's find out. Both teams have got reason to feel confident heading into this game. So I suppose we'll see.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, all 3 of these final B games, we're going to touch on the other 2 in a minute, but Suwon, they're only 4 points behind FC Seoul, and FC Seoul fans will be thinking perhaps they could help condemn their rivals to relegation, but Suwon Blue Wings could really drag Seoul into it. And when you think that Daegu have Suwon FC and Gimcheon have Songnam, Daegu and Gimcheon are lurking beneath Seoul as well. If all 3 of those to win, suddenly FC Seoul find themselves very, very close to the danger zone. And
definitely,
the whole complexion of the final B could change based on the results this weekend. But speaking of results this weekend, we did touch on Gimcheon there. Gimcheon, they are playing Songnam.
What a game this is.
Yeah, it's all or nothing now for Songnam if they're going to survive. There is a suspension for Gimcheon. Gimcheon are going to be without Kang Yun-sung after he picked up his 5th yellow against Suwon FC last time out. A draw is enough to see Songnam go down to K-League 2. They would be then 10 points adrift with 3 to play. I don't know. If I think it's just
a tough one. Yeah,
they've already it looks like they're going to need a miracle, basically, Songnam, if they're going to survive. But if you're going to have a miracle, it's got to start here. Gimcheon, though, they've been leaving it late in their last 2 games to collect points. Probably won't have to wait as long here. Songnam's last 4 losses came with the first goal conceded in the first half, and they actually also lost the same fixture 4-1 about 9 rounds ago. So it does all kind of point to Gimcheon, but you never know. Songnam with their backs to the wall, they might just muster up one last hurrah.
Perhaps it'll be a stay of execution if nothing else. But interesting what will happen there. Huge game. This really. And that's it. This is what happens when you get to the split. People don't like the split. People do like it. This is why I do like it, because every game is meaningful. It has, or most games are meaningful, has something on it. Although perhaps the next game doesn't have a great deal on it, really. Daegu FC against Suwon FC. That's the 7 p.m. kickoff on the Sunday. Daegu are finding form kind of in the league, really. Cezinha and Zeka in particular look untouchable. Suwon FC, they sit 7th at the moment. They'll be annoyed that they drew against Gimcheon last time out. But I think both teams will be confident of a win. And there's been goals in this fixture in this season. 11, in fact, this season. 7 came in one game. That was the 4-3 Suwon win way back in March. They also had a 2-2 draw as well a bit later. They are also the final B top scorers. Daegu with 43 goals and Suwon with 53. So I'll be expecting goals in this one, and I would say this might be a draw, and I would fancy Cezinha and Lee Sung-woo to both score. No suspensions to speak of for either team, but Zeka, Kim Jin-hyuk, Park Young-hon, and Jo Jin-woo are all 1 booking away from a suspension. They're on 4 yellow cards, all of them. So we'll see what happens with that one. All right, let's take another quick break, and then when we come back, we'll have a look at what's happening in K-League 2.
FNR is a revolutionary football-dedicated digital platform, the first of its kind in Australia. It provides a 24/7 live online radio platform experience, podcast hub, and acts as a content provider for TV, radio, and digital. Having reached millions of listeners and football fans since launching, FNR is accessible worldwide via its website or app, providing a platform to discuss, debate, and celebrate the world game. We are your voice of football, FNR Football Nation Radio.
All right, welcome back to the K-League United podcast. Before we have a quick look at K-League 2, a reminder, I suppose you don't need to remind it, but World Cup season is coming up soon. And if you're looking to get yourself kitted out with some classic football shirts, then click the link in the description of this podcast episode and go to Classic Football Shirts and use KLU10 to get 10% discount off your order. There's Korea shirts on there, a few K-League gems too. So if you do fancy a shirt or some shirts before the World Cup, or even just in general, make sure to click the link and use KLU10. But lots going on in K-League or Korean football at the moment. The FA Cup, K-League 1 final round, K-League 2 on Wednesday night. There was 2 of the round 29 games that were rearranged. The slightly earlier game was Daejeon versus Jeonnam Dragons. Daejeon won 2-1. Willian opened the scoring after 5 minutes. A lovely ball across from Leandro. Willian on his own side foot finished first time into the roof of the net. Very composed. He scored at the weekend as well. So he's again, we say about players finding form at the right time. For Daejeon, Willian certainly is doing that. But then the Dragons levelled just about 5 minutes later. Park Song-gyul found himself unmarked on the edge of the box following a half-cleared corner. His shot took a deflection, but he won't mind too much as it was his first ever goal as a professional, just 21 years old, first year pro with the Dragons. But he did get dragged off at half-time. This is K-League after all. There is no leeway given for young players. It doesn't matter if you've just scored, you're coming off. The Dragons, they did look dangerous on the break. Balotelli came on at half-time and ruffled a few feathers, got involved. But the next goal of the game came to Daejeon. A Ju-sejong corner headed in by Kim Jae-woo on 69 minutes. It was the defender's first goal for the club and first since 2019 and only the second goal of his career. His last goal came in a 2-1 defeat for Bucheon against Ansan. Bit of late drama. You could say the Purples were saved by the post on 83 minutes. A very lucky escape. But I think what was quite telling about this game is there was only 2 minutes added to the end of the second half. I think that's very rare to see. Only 2 minutes.
Yeah.
The game flowed very well. There wasn't a lot of stoppages. And, well, yeah, the Purples win. They won 2-1. They now sit second in the table, 2 points clear of FC Anyang, having now played the same amount of games. 2 games to go. Up next is Gimpo away this weekend, and then Ansan away the week after. But before we move on to the other game in K-League 2, some quite upsetting news really that's come through. I've been told that Gwon Han-jin, the centre back, has a spinal fracture. He was taken off in the first half of this game and replaced by Kim Min-gok, a very experienced centre back who'd he has had some bad luck with injuries since signing for Daejeon. And yeah, hopefully he gets well soon. Hopefully this isn't the end of his career because spinal fracture could be very, very serious.
Yeah, indeed. Best wishes to him.
Indeed. There was one more game in K-League 2. The Leopards were putting some kind of late fight towards the playoffs.
Yeah.
Is it all over?
I don't want to say it because it's heartbreaking. I don't want to say it because I heard Michael last week on the podcast and it made me believe.
Yeah.
It made me believe, and now I get to feel what Michael feels because I have no idea how he feels, but I'm sure he's gutted. Yeah, going by his messages, he seems very, very gutted about it, which is perfectly understandable.
Yeah.
It was slightly later this match, kicked off at 7:30, and there wasn't much time to wait around for Asan as they took the lead 7 minutes in, Song Sun-min, and then doubled their lead on 77 minutes with Yu Kang-hyun. Felipe Cardenazzi pulled one back in the 94th minute with a penalty, but yeah, not enough. Owls got the win, and that means that the magical 5th place is now 5 points away for Seoul Eland with 2 to play. And
2 games left.
Yeah, 2 teams above them as well. So they require a lot of results to go their way, which is a rather unfortunate ending to what was a nice bit of momentum the Leopards had built towards the end. And hopefully it's not momentum they're going to lose going into next season.
What is worth pointing out, though, is that the final 2 games of the season are what you would say winnable. They play the bottom 2, Jeonnam this weekend, and then Busan I Park on the final day. Gonna have to just hope that Asan and Gyeongnam drop points between now and then. But I mean, this might sound very patronising. If it does, I'm very sorry. But the fact that they gave themselves something to play for towards the end of the season is kind of remarkable and worthy of feeling not a sense of pride, I think, because Gimpo, Ansan, John Nam, Busan, teams that have got nothing to play for really, and Eland have given themselves a chance. It's still not.
It's not over.
Not
the two teams, just to give you an idea, the Gyeongnam's in 5th place. Their 2 games are against Gwangju and Anyang. So, Gwangju
tough.
obviously they're through, but they're still picking up results. And then Asan, they have Gwangju as well, but they also have Busan I Park. So a bit of top and bottom for Asan.
Interesting mix. All right. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you are going to a ground this weekend, wherever you are, whether it's in Korea or elsewhere, don't forget to use Futbology. But from me, Paul Neat and Matthew Binns, until next time, church will soon. See you soon.
정교석 공격 폭격기 김신우